We going? Okay, we are going. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the Pickle Jar Variety Show. Today we will be doing an MCU tier list, which I've been holding out on making this video for a bit. It got delayed a little bit because I made the Loki review, and I didn't want to stuff I don't want to make 2 MCU videos in a row, so I released a couple other videos. But we're here. We're doing our tier list. Haven't done a tier list in a little bit. Well, we did the NFL power rankings, but that's not a tier list, you know? So, today we're doing all the MCU properties, all the movies up to Black Widow, and the shows and the 3 Disney Plus shows. So let's begin. Of course, the tier list. The tier list is kind of following my my grading my grading criteria, or my grading system, where you know how I have the out of 9 system. Well, excellent will kind of be the form of 9 out of 9 properties, 8 out of 9 for A, 7 out of 9, 6 out of 9, 5 out of 9, 4 out of 9, 3 out of 9. Actually, I gotta change this up a little bit, because 5 out of 9 is a fine movie. It's not really an underwhelming one. And then C, average. I'll just change that to above average. Alright, and we are officially ready to go. So we're going to be doing this one in chronological order. So first up is the first Iron Man. I think this is the first Iron Man. Yes, it is. It's going to go in great tier. I would honestly say that this is an 8 out of 9 film. It's kind of weird going back to this one, because, you know, Marvel properties have kind of taken on this specific style, kind of starting at, I want to say, Guardians? Like, even if you watch an MCU movie before Guardians, it feels like you're watching, like, a different series of movies. I guess Avengers also kind of has that. No, not even, because Guardians has, like, this... Guardians and, like, all the Marvel movies for it have, like, this witty writing style, and they're not afraid to get weird, while first Avengers is kind of just, like, goofy and, like, almost sincerely corny and wholesome. But yeah, I think Guardians onward is when Marvel movies kind of start to, I guess, define their style, you know? But yeah, it's still a great movie to go back to. Good, what we, like, talk about characters, like, specific arcs throughout all the MCU, Iron Man's arc from Iron Man 1 to Endgame. But I think just his individual arc in this one is really well done. Fun action scenes. I think the big giant robot battle at the end is kind of dumb and pointless. But it does give us the classic line, Tony Stark built this in a cave with a bunch of scraps. Favorite movie quote of all time. So yeah, what was the next one? Hulk. It was bad. Was it fine or bad? If I'm looking at it as just a movie, I think there's not too many things about it that I, like, completely hate. The CGI is bad. Most of it, if it's a boring movie, yeah, I'm gonna put it in bad tier. This is probably one of the top 5 worst MCU movies. I said Iron Man doesn't really feel like a movie in the MCU. Hulk really doesn't feel like a movie in the MCU. Like, I think this isn't canon. I think the only thing making this a canon movie is the post-credit scene. I think that's the only thing in the way of this just being, like, weird Hulk fan fiction that got a major studio budget. Alright, whatever's the next one, I think it was Iron Man 2. Fine. 5 out of 9 movie, that sounds about right. Yeah, bad villain. It doesn't really add anything. I'm gonna put in bad tiers well above Hulk because it's very bad at being a sequel because it doesn't add anything to the character of Iron Man. He doesn't have much to do other than fighting the bad guy. And the bad guy himself is not very interesting at all. They got nothing really to do with the characters. Plot's kind of boring. It's just kind of forgettable and bland and bad. So, Thor. This is going in pure garbage tier. I think this is not one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but definitely one of the most boring. The plot is Thor is an asshole, loses his hammer and his powers. Meanwhile, Loki goes and takes over Asgard, and then Thor winds up in New Mexico, which is the most boring place to set a story if you're not Breaking Bad. And then I think he gets the hammer back before he stops being an asshole. Like, he's kind of an... it's supposed to be him learning to, not be an asshole. We kind of did that with Iron Man. But it's just kind of a worse version of Iron Man. Because while the main character's off trying to improve himself, the bad guy who he once considered close is kind of like stewing up trouble in the background, and then he comes back to beat the main bad guy. Only Thor just does everything terribly. Chris Hemsworth doesn't put in a good performance, at least not in this one. But he's not given a whole lot. All the side I think this is my least favorite cast of side characters. There are 3 characters in total that matter. Thor, Loki, Odin. And then all of the other ones don't. And there's a bunch more. Like, on this poster, I think this is Loki, Odin, Thor. They want to put 5 characters that added something to the plot. They needed 5 the top 5 characters in this movie. And they had to go down to the level of including Heimdall. That's not a good sign. Who's this lady in the Iron Man 1 poster? Iron Man 1 poster. Yeah, who's this guy in here? No, that's Iron Man 2. Oh, it's Rhodey. Okay. Dope. But yeah, Thor, bad. Next up is going to be Captain America, the first Avenger. The first guy. Where is that movie? It is... right here. It's above average. It's a fine movie. I think it really drags in the like the 60%, when we reach the halfway point to, the finale, it really drags. I like all the stuff characterizing Steve Rogers. I like the scene where he jumps on the fake grenade. It does a great job establishing this character we are going to see act for the next essentially the same way for the next 10 years. Fine plot, the villain's kind of boring. Red Skull has never been that interesting to me as a villain. Because I think characters like Captain America... The problem with, in my opinion, with a lot of characters like Captain America and Superman is that it's fine to have a flat, character is good all the time character. But you need a villain to challenge, their moral ideals to make them interesting. And I don't think Superman or Captain America get a lot of those villains to challenge their ideals, or at least not in this movie for Captain America. And that's why I think the flat character arc works a lot better in stories like One Piece and Dragon Ball, because they have much more interesting villains with actually opposing philosophies, while Captain America and Superman being comic book stories, just get the traditional comic book villain. But still above average. I like the scene at the end where he comes back to New York, and the first thing he's thinking about is Peggy. That's sweet. It's a fine, enjoyable movie. Next up, Avengers. I would go so far, because there was a period of time where I did not like this movie very much. I think I can comfortably... Can I say it's a great movie? No. But it's good. It's rarely stupid. And I mean rarely stupid. And it has some of the worst dialogue in any superhero movie. But it's just filled with such camp and earnestness that I think I love it. It's just so stupid. Of course, every line Iron Man has in this movie, this is like peak stereotypical cartoon character Tony Stark. I almost said Stony Tark. Where every line he's like, "Oh, what's your plan of attack? I have a plan. Attack." And then he jumps out of a plane. It's really dumb, but it's a really fun action blockbuster movie. So, it'll go in B tier. Where was the one? This is Phase 2 is where I chronologically get a little messy for me. I think Iron Man 3 is the next one up, and honestly, hot take, top better than the first Avengers movie. And this is a opinion I have just formed kind of like a month ago when I went back and I watched Iron Man 3. Man, it's really good. It's a good movie. It's a lot better than I remember. I like all the stuff with Tony, like, you know, all of his anxiety and guilt and stuff, you know. I like how the actions of Avengers carries over into this movie. I like the stuff with the kid. Don't take that out of context. I think the villain sucks. I like the Mandarin, though, as like a red herring villain. I just wish the actual villain was a little bit more, you know, interesting. It's got really creative action scenes because Tony isn't reliant on a suit. He just sort of has to use his intelligence throughout most of the movie. And I think that's dope. And it gets to show off the character. Has very fun action scenes, which I feel like a lot of times the fight choreography for like a lot of the more grounded superheroes, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Cap, like when there's cartoon like gods like Thor, action scenes are always fun. Doctor Strange has fun action scenes, the Guardians do. But when like Cap and Black Widow fight, it just sort of looks like they're doing karate. And Iron Man 3 doesn't have that issue, which is fun. It has very creative fight scenes. Very good movie. Next up, Captain America Winter Soldier. People like to think that this movie is great, and there's like this, it's a super awesome spy thriller. Is it though? I just see it as just a good superhero movie. I don't see it as anything more than that, you know? Stuff with Bucky is fun. I don't like that fight choreography that much, except for, honestly, this one I will excuse. Because as I think the Bucky fight on like the road is really fun, and the elevator stuff is cool. I like how this is a very important step in Captain America's character arc, because, you know, throughout his first two appearances, he's just, you know, he's a soldier to a T. He trusts S.H.I.E.L.D. and he trusts the U.S. government no matter what. And then look where this comes up again. A virtuous, good guy to a T character having their morals and philosophies tested, and that creates a better outcome. It's not that hard to write movies, guys. What's up next after? Is it Thor Dark World? I think it is. Thor and Thor 2, they're the same movie. Everything I said about Thor 1, just carry over to Thor 2. Next up, we have... Is it Ant-Man or Guardians? let's talk about Ant-Man. Because, sure. Ant-Man, it's fine. It's a fine... I think I like this more than the second one, but we'll get to that. It's a fine, funny heist movie. And it's funny. Paul Rudd is obviously great. Not too interested in the plot or any of the side characters, really Ant-Man himself. This is a movie you'll find on a random cable channel, and it's like, there's like 30 minutes left, I'll just watch this. This is like, you'd find this movie on FX a lot. So yeah, it's gonna go there. What's up next? It's a Guardians. I think we've made it to Guardians, and bum, bum, bum. It's a good movie. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I don't have to explain that much. I haven't seen the James Gunn Suicide movie yet, but apparently it's really good, and I believe that's gonna be really good because James Gunn is a really good director. He has a very particular style that was so good that Marvel copied it, or tried to copy it, for literally the rest of his list. There's not a single, maybe except for these 3 movies, there's not a single, and maybe Captain Marvel, and probably the second Ant-Man movie, but the good Marvel movies are trying to capture the Guardians' charm. Characters are all fleshed out as individuals and also work well as a group, which is really important. I kind of like Ronan as a villain because I like the contrast between all the silly, goofy action stuff of Peter like doing karaoke and the fun prison escape, and then just like this warlord, this space warlord. It's a really stupid contrast. And he's objectively not a very good character, but I think he fits the movie in a strange way. But yeah, I don't think I can add that much more to Guardians. It's excellent. 9 out of 9. What came after Guardians? Definitely not these stuff. Wasn't Black Panther. Wasn't Homecoming. Wasn't you. Is it Civil War next? And then Doctor Strange, and then Avengers 2? Sure. Civil War. It's a very good, no. Oh. I think this and Avengers, honestly, I'll put it there. Missed Potential is the theme of this one. Very good movie, Missed Potential. Because, okay, so this is where the roads of Tony and Cap's character arcs, they meet. Cap is starts off as super courageous, constantly, literally begins his story arc with giving his life up, and then that's him slowly, and then by the end of Endgame, he's thinking a lot more for himself, he's not trusting the government to a T, he goes back and actually lives a life with Peggy, so his character arc's kind of going like this, while Tony starts off as like a selfish asshole who only cares about himself, but then he slowly becomes more of a superhero in Avengers, tries to sacrifice himself, fails in Infinity War, fails when creating Ultron, and his first mistake. Oh wait, no, Avengers 2 is before this. Whole video's ruined. Avengers 2 is above average. It's fine. But yeah, fails at creating Ultron, which is kind of the last straw, and then this point where Cap, the one who's literally a propaganda machine for the US government, officially tries to keep himself out of the government, while Tony, who's a massive... Their character arcs meet, that's what I'm trying to say. And I love that about the movie. I love dynamic between Tony and Cap. I feel like every other character doesn't get much to do other than fighting. But that being said, the airport scene is amazing. Spider-Man is always a fun addition to any movie. I think they should make it illegal to not have him in an MCU crossover film. So, Black Panther is cooler. This is peak Black Panther, is honestly in the first movie he's in, because he has a very simple story. He notices that Bucky kills his dad, so he's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna kill him. There's a scene where Cap and Black Panther are in the back of a police car, and Black Panther just stoically says, how much longer do you think you can keep your friend from me? That's so cool! That's so cool! That's the coolest thing. That's the coolest thing. My one main problem is that, so they're trying to sell this division between the Avengers. But the thing is, by the end of this movie, when Cap sends the letter to Iron Man, by the end of this movie, that division is it doesn't feel like there's that big of a divide in the Avengers. They're physically divided, because Falcon, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Cap are off doing their own thing in Infinity War, while Iron Man and Spider-Man are doing a different thing. But, like, emotionally, they're not really that separated. There's even a bit where Hawkeye and Black Widow are like, we're still friends, right? Yeah. Then why do I care? If they're all still friends at the end, why do I care? If the whole point is that they are no longer friends anymore. It's like if the actual Civil War was just a square dancing contest, and they all just went back to being chums afterwards. So yeah, Missed Potential Pistol. It's a good movie. Doctor Strange, also above average, has really cool CGI effects, boring plot, and boring characters. But it's kind of fun. And then Doctor Strange, and then it's Black Panther next. Is it? No, then it's Guardians. Then Black Panther. Then Thor. No, Homecoming. No, I'm reorganizing the word. There we go. Perfect. So Guardians 2. Second excellent movie? Second excellent tier? I think that's fair to say. I think the emotional core of this movie is a lot better. They're both about as funny. I think Guardians 2 definitely... It was a much better sequel than Iron Man 2. And the fact that it gives the characters new things to do with Quill and his dad. It continues the storyline between Gamora and Nebula. Even goes into Rocket and Yondu. It's as good as the first one. It's excellent. It's really, really good. I go as far as to say that these two movies are perfect movies. Like, they're not my favorite movies of all time, but I think, like, I can watch these two movies, like, 25 times and not get that, bored, you know? So, yeah. Love the Guardian films. Spider-Man Homecoming, great. This one has kind of dwindled in my eyes, because Far From Home came out, and Spider-Verse came out, and Spider-Man PS4 game came out. So, yeah, Spider-Man's also in Avengers Infinity War, and also Endgame, so it's not my favorite piece of Spider-Man, my favorite piece of Spider-Man, media, but at the time it was. If people still sleep on this movie, it's just really fun. It's kind of like a very small scale, almost slice of life movie, but it just happens to have Spider-Man in it, which I think is just a great idea. Tony is in the movie and he steals the show in every scene he's in, but doesn't feel like he's overcrowding the plot. It's very much so focused on Spider-Man. Keeps a tightly knit cast. I think is top 10 villain in Marvel movies. Michael Keaton is great. He's great at playing comic book characters that are named after animals that fly. But yeah, great movie. I like how the villain uses tech from the first Avengers movie, which at that point was like 5 years old. That's a really cool callback. Great, excellent, great film. Thor Ragnarok is next. This is because I wouldn't call it a 9 out of 9 movie. It's an 8 out of 9 movie. I think that's partially because I've seen it too many times. If you want to throw on an MCU movie, this is probably the one you go with just because it's funny, and it's goofy, and it reinvents the character of Thor. Remember when Thor sucked? And then he cuts hair and all of a sudden he's great? And the scenes where he's like classic long blonde hair Thor, the first couple scenes in Thor Ragnarok where he's acting like Infinity War and Endgame Thor and Ragnarok Thor, but like he still has the classic blonde locks. Those are some weird scenes. Those don't compute in my brain. It's like there's a split in the timeline, you know? But yeah, great movie. I think I've watched it too many times. I think the trailer spoiled a lot of the funny parts. But yeah, it's still a great movie. Next up, Infinity War. Can we just put the Infinity War? And, well, we got 2 movies before we talk about Endgame, so whatever. I'll hold off for now. Oh wait, Black Panther's also here. It was pretty good. It wasn't excellent. I used to think this was one of my favorite Marvel movies, but then I think what happened was, after I said that, Infinity War came out, then Endgame came out, then Far From Home came out, then WandaVision and Loki came out, and I don't think too highly of this movie anymore. I still think it's good. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie. I think for a movie named about him, Black Panther doesn't have that much to do, but as arguably the best villain in Marvel movies, obviously Thanos is amazing, but he also has all this build-up and 2 whole movies with him. While Killmonger does all the stuff in 1 movie. So I think I can appreciate that. And also, Thanos being on screen took away from a lot of the other characters. Killmonger doesn't do that as much. But yeah, Michael B. Jordan, I think is one of my favorite roles. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors. He was in some Tom Clancy movie. Not a good movie, but he was really good at acting. He was great in Creed 1 and 2. He was the best person named Michael Jordan, the best actor named Michael Jordan in the Space Jam duology. So, good movie. But yeah, Infinity War, what can I say? It's just like a giant feast of action and just great character interactions. And Thanos knocks it out of the fucking park as a character. They got me feeling like this genocidal maniac who could very much feel like a one-note villain, feel like an actual person. A terrible person, a psychopath, but still a person. I like how he has like this cult around him, feeding into his crazy ideas. Yeah, the snap is still probably, I know it's we don't talk about it as big as it is, just because it was obviously counteracted for Endgame. It's kind of a joke now in Far From Home, but like, it was massive when it happened. So, also having Hulk in the poster, I'm gonna say it, I'm pretty mad about that. I want to see Hulk in the movie. And I didn't get to see Hulk. I explicitly did not get to see Hulk. They made a note not to give me Hulk, but whatever. Thor is awesome. Thor has the same thing going on as Black Panther in Civil War, where it's like, oh, Thanos slaughtered half of my people and killed my brother. I'm gonna kill him now. Peter Krill gets a lot of stuff, gets to do a lot of cool stuff. I love all of the action scenes. The stuff on Wakanda has this scale that it should have. The fight in New York was fun and goofy and lighthearted. And of course, the fight on Titan is one of my favorite movie fights of all time. How they use all the characters' abilities differently and how they use all the Infinity Stones. Loved every ounce of this movie. Not this movie, though. It's fine. I don't want to talk about it. Same thing with Captain Marvel. I don't really want to talk about these 3 movies. I just don't. And then Endgame, it's my favorite movie of all time, not because I think it's a perfect movie, but just because it is a perfect theater experience. It's rare that in Western media, you get 11 years of build-up for something. Meanwhile, in anime, you fucking get 20 years of build-up, still waiting for Rubberman to find the goddamn treasure. But yeah, it's just having 11 years of build-up and having the MCU as big as it was, or it still is, really helps because it felt like the whole world was just talking about this movie for a month. This is great. I still consider it the best-selling movie of all time. I know Avatar technically took the lead back, but I think re-releasing a movie that was released 11 years ago back into theaters in, like, China to boost up sales, it's a scummy move, and I hate it. And Endgame will always be number 1 in my heart. And then the first movie outside of Endgame was Spider-Man Far From Home. Because I don't know how to grade this one, because I haven't seen this movie in over 2 years, because it's still not on Disney Plus for whatever reason. I think it has something to do with the rights. Maybe because some Spider-Man properties are still owned by Sony. Maybe Mysterio's included in that. But I think it could be my number 1. It could be, like, here. But I haven't seen it in a while, but I know it's excellent. So I'm still gonna put an S here. And then we get into the 4 2020s Marvel properties. You've already seen me talk about WandaVision. I gave that an 8 out of 9. I'll put it right there. Alright, heard me to talk about Loki. Well, I think I gave WandaVision a high 7 out of 9. But I think it... I'm gonna put it here. Already heard me talk about Loki, which I thought was excellent. I'll put it, honestly, here. Has a little bit of a slow beginning, while Thor Ragnarok is kind of just like a roller coaster the whole way through. This will probably be bumped up over time because of all the stuff it introduces into the MCU. But for now, will comfortably sit here. So here are the things I haven't talked about. Because, first off, Captain and Falcon's... Cap Falcon Soldier. I'm also gonna move you down here. And you right here. I'll put it above average. It was okay. It was fun. It was a fun little it was a fun little show. I like the back and forth between Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's all I really have as far as positives. It's okay. And speaking of okay, Black Widow, again, it's above average. I haven't talked about this movie, and I thought, I'll do an MCU tier list, and then I'll have the whole section of the video be me reviewing Black Widow, because I want to make an individual review of the movie. If I don't have that much to say, it's an okay movie, you'll have your fun. I like a lot of the side characters more than the main character of Black Widow. It's also weird because I don't care about this movie at all, because they're basing it off of Civil War, a movie that came out 5 years ago. Why would you do that? That's literally like if Ant-Man and the Wasp, a movie people already didn't care about, just like Black Widow, was set after the event of the first Avengers movie. So this is a it matches perfectly, because Black Widow is taking place before the snap, which I don't want to hear any more stories about the pre-snap MCU, unless it's like far back, you know? And same thing for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I had a hard time caring. It's like is it the Doomsday dilemma? Where it's hard to, if you know everything will be wiped out it's hard to care about any of the stuff that happens to Ant-Man and the Wasp or Black Widow if we know it will not have an effect on the future. You know? If the bad guy in Ant-Man and the Wasp kills all the guys, kills all the heroes, oh no, half of them are going to die anyway. So I don't care. Lack attention throughout Black Widow. It's the real problem with it. So yeah, there's my MCU tier list. What's the top 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 7, 8, 9. WandaVision cracks the top 10. Followed by Iron Man, Homecoming, Loki, Ragnarok, Far From Home, Guardians movies, Infinity War movie, Endgame movie. And then the bottom 10, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that makes sense as a bottom 10. Honestly, looking at this, Marvel has a pretty good track record. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 15, 19, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's about 25 properties, pieces of media. That means that, I'd say 16% of the movies are bad. And 1, 4, 8, 6, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48. Yeah, so this is the problem. Because barely any of them are bad, you know? Only 16% of them are bad. But, half of them are, above average to bad, you know? But the ones that are good are really good. These are starting at, Iron Man 3. These are all great, really good movies. So yeah, there's my MCU tier list. If you disagree with it, send all of your complaints to, hold up. Let me find the Twitter account. Send all of your complaints about my tier list. Right. Send all of your complaints. Right. Come on. Send all of your complaints right here. DM this Twitter account to complain, and I will respond to you. It's going to be a very confusing morning in the Obama household. Alright, well, see you guys later.